Welcome to another running mechanics analysis video. So in this video, we're going to start off looking at some key positions that we're going to reference while we're analyzing other people's videos. So what we're going to watch here is basic position of the foot coming up underneath the hips. So the knee is out in front, but it's remaining low. Oftentimes people see the knee out in front, and so they aim to drive it out in front. With what I'm actually doing is bringing this foot up underneath the hips while leaving this knee as low as possible. So let's watch here. As the foot comes down, the ankle is in a fixed position and with my toes down. It's my goal to get the foot back down to the ground as quickly as possible because the sooner it touches the ground, the sooner my hips and my center of mass can rotate over that grounded contact point. So it comes down, toes first, and ankle rolls back. I don't stay up on my toes. I come down, my entire foot's touching the ground. And then I'll demonstrate it again here. When I'm running, I'm not actively driving this foot down, but what I'm doing is I'm setting my foot up for a good landing. So you have to be aware of how your foot's landing and you have to set that up. So let's watch this foot come down. So we're coming up underneath the hips. Watch that again. As the foot comes up, this knee is staying in roughly the same plane, this vertical plane. It's not driving up at all. So let's watch again. If I draw the plane right around here, it's coming up. This is staying roughly about here. I'm not using the quadricep to drive or the hip flexor to drive this knee up. Bring the foot underneath the hips, about the height of the knee. I'm not coming higher than the knee. When you check this on yourself, you'll notice that oftentimes you're lifting the foot above the knee and it's a lot of effort. I don't come any higher than the knee, so it's actually not that high off the ground. I'm going to demonstrate again of how to bring the foot down. So I'm in this fixed position, setting my toes up to hit the ground first. Again, when I'm running, my focus is on the rear foot coming off the ground, and I'm setting the front foot up for a good landing. What a lot of people do is they focus so much on the front foot that they forget about the rear foot. That's not what we're demonstrating here. We're demonstrating how to set the front foot up for a good landing. So I'm going to come up again, and I'm going to come down. Again, I set it up so my foot hits the ground sooner. Because my toes are angled in this downward position, they'll hit the ground sooner. One thing I am not doing is when the foot comes up, I am not flicking or flexing my foot behind yourself. So check yourself and make sure you're not flexing the foot so it points backwards. It's staying in this fixed position. It's pointed straight down. It comes back down again and it hits the ground. In this next video, I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like when I start to lift the toes up. So you can see how I'm flexing this front shin muscle and I'm lifting the toes up so the foot's flat while it's in the air. We don't want the foot flat while it's in the air. Flat meaning parallel to the ground, because now it's going to take me significantly longer time for this foot to hit the ground, whereas before I hit the ground a lot sooner because my toes were in this downward angled position. We'll watch that again. Here's another demonstration. Again, it takes me longer to get the foot back down to the ground. In this next video, I'll demonstrate what it looks like for the toes to come down first. Toes come down first, and I hit the ground sooner. That's the goal. So now I'm going to demonstrate this retracting motion. So as you're moving forward, your center of mass is moving forward here ahead of your grounded foot. So the grounded foot comes off the ground, and I'm retracting this foot up underneath the hips. I'm not driving the knee up. My goal is to bend this angle behind the knee and lift the foot off the ground. Once the foot's underneath the hips, I'm going to switch to the next leg. So we'll demonstrate that again. So now in this video, what I'm demonstrating is oftentimes people will bend, but then they will drive the knee up. So before I discussed how the knee stays in the same horizontal plane, now watch this video. You see how the knee went significantly above the horizontal plane? So at this point, the foot's underneath the hips. You don't have to go any higher. But what I'm going to do here to demonstrate poor form is I'm driving the knee up using the hip flexor up here. So I'm driving the foot up. Now that the foot is out in front of the body, it has nowhere to go but to hit the ground out in front of the body. Another demonstration of poor form that's pretty common is when someone lifts their foot late off of the ground, bends the knee, but then stops bending and swings the knee forward. So we'll watch that again. The foot is lifted late, there's a bend, and then a swing. What we want is just a retracting motion underneath the body. So in this movement I'm showing here, retracting the foot up underneath the body. Back down, toes first. Let's go ahead and jump into analyzing some videos here. So here we have a runner in the mid stance position. This rear foot came off the ground really nicely, really soon. The rear knee is bent, coming down. This runner is pointing their toes down to hit the ground sooner, as we just demonstrated. The foot is ahead of the knee though, so we want to try to bend this knee soon enough so we can drive this foot down underneath the body, underneath the knee. So I would say that's probably coming from this motion. The lower leg here swings forward, and then we see a big bend, and we're landing here. I think that was a good land, but you can see how the foot right now is a little bit out ahead of the knee, and that's coming from this little bit of a swing with the lower leg. We don't want to swing. We want this foot to come straight down while we're bending the rear of the knee. Okay, here's our second runner, mid stance position. Rear foot came off the ground really timely. That's really good. This front foot is set up nicely to land there to come straight down, but in this next frame we can see how they lift their toe up a little bit and swing the lower leg forward some. Watch again. Swings forward some. He's landing flat, but this little bit of swing with the lower leg is just, it's requiring more work than is necessary. And so he's landing just a little bit out in front of the knee here. Let's take a look at this next section. What we see here is foot's coming down nicely, rear knee is bending nicely, but let's watch this foot. In this frame, we see the toes lifting up a lot. So here, if this foot were just to come straight down, nice and relaxed, and fall straight down, would be set. What we're actually seeing is the toes lifting up, and we're landing on the outside of the heel there. It's as simple as setting the foot up for a good landing and then putting all the focus on the rear leg and letting this front leg drop down, rather than trying to control this landing foot as we see here. This control, there's a difference between controlling the landing foot by angling it and lifting the toes up and setting the foot up for a good landing, as in what I demonstrated in that first video. This is going to require a significant amount of mental focus, and then soon enough we'll see a lack of focus on the rear leg because the brain doesn't multitask very well, and it's going to focus on the landing foot as he lands a little bit on the heel here out in front. Here's another video of the same runner. We see the rear foot coming off the ground really well. Let's count how many frames it takes. 1, 2, 3. 3 frames to get that rear foot off the ground. That is world class, literally. It's very good. The upper thigh is relatively perpendicular to the ground. He's not letting this leg drag way behind. This front leg looks great. Foot's dangling down. At this point, all focus should be on retracting this rear leg underneath, letting this leg fall. Well, what we're going to see instead is more of just a bend with the rear foot way back here versus retracting the foot underneath. He is bending back here and focusing on this front foot, and now we see the front foot shooting forward. And so this rear foot's way back here, where we should have seen more of a retraction motion lifting it underneath. In this video here, I'll demonstrate the retraction motion. Foot's behind, and we are bringing it up underneath. Let's watch that again. Bringing it up underneath. Whereas what we saw this runner do was lift the foot up behind, bend the knee here, so the foot's way back here. So you can see that again. The bend is the foot coming straight up, significantly behind the hips here. When what we wanted to see was this rear foot coming up underneath like this. Foot coming up underneath. We'll demonstrate it one more time. So the rear foot is retracting underneath the body. So you can see there's almost a line here since you're leaving the foot behind. If we draw a line from the hip down to the foot, it is an angled line, and this foot is just traveling up that line. Or what we saw that runner do was bend this rear leg back like this. So rather than there being a line that connects from the ground angled up to the hips and this foot following this line, this foot is just going straight up behind the body. Let's watch that again. It's coming straight up. Sure, the knee is bending, but the foot's not following a line up underneath the body. Our goal is to get our foot back underneath our hips. We want the shortest distance from point A to point B. What we're seeing here is, sure, we're seeing a knee bend here and the foot coming straight up, but now the foot still has to get from here to here. And to do that, we have to recruit the hip flexor. We have to drive forward. Okay, one more time with this runner. So we see the front foot shooting up some, rear knee bending, but look how far back the foot is, and swinging forward. Okay, here's another runner. Let's take a look here. And we're in a mid stance position. Right here we can see this upper leg, airborne leg swinging forward. Now we see the rear knee bending timely. What we saw first was this front leg shooting forward first. I think the landing is good, but we're spending energy right now reaching the lower leg forward and then bending. We want to see the bend happen first to drive this foot down. We don't want to see a reach then bend, because what that's going to lead to with a little bit of fatigue is the person only focusing on the landing foot. Okay, here we go with this run one more time. Let's take a look. And we see a good landing here. Foot's a little bit out in front of the knee, not bad. Good bend here, good landing here. The foot's a little out in front of the knee. We like to see that foot come down a little more underneath. How do we do that? We follow that line from the ground up underneath the hips better with the rear foot, and that'll help drive this foot down better. Okay, and with this video, we're in mid-stance position. What we're going to see is the same thing we saw before. The front leg shooting forward some, good bend in the rear, but we, rather than shooting this foot forward, we need to set our foot up for a good landing, as I saw in that initial video. What we're seeing here is the foot is flat, parallel to the ground before it hits the ground, and I think that's our problem. We want the toes to come down first so this foot hits the ground sooner, and that would completely get rid of this swinging problem here. Right now, the foot is parallel to the ground, so it takes longer for it to get to the ground. If the toes were orientated towards the ground sooner, it would hit the ground sooner and it would get rid of this lower leg swing forward. With this runner, the primary thing we've been focusing on is trying not to land with a locked left knee. And we're seeing it here some. The leg is completely straight. So let's watch. The leg is completely straight. We're leveraging off that foot. Good bend. The right knee lands great. I'm not sure why the runner decided to wear bell bottoms for his run, but you know, whatever. You know, he's down in Tennessee. They do it like they want to do down there. One thing I want to point out here is this foot's coming down to the ground really nicely, really soon. We just got to prevent that locked knee. So it's that locked knee we got to focus on. Everything else is looking pretty good. The right knee here lands nice and bent. You can see that bend in the far knee. It's just this leg is landing a little locked, so we need to fix that. We need to get this left knee to land bent like the right knee is. You can see how it's kind of a half squat there. We want to go more for that, where this left knee is landing locked. I mean, it comes to the ground nicely. Everything looks really good. We just need to fix that because that's going to hurt that knee. All right, so we're in our mid-stance position here. We're coming back. We can see the toes still on the ground, so we need to retract that foot off the ground sooner, bend this knee sooner. What we're seeing instead is this lower leg swinging forward some, toes up in the air. I think this runner is making a lot of progress from what we saw several weeks ago. I think he can benefit from that initial video stating how to set the front foot up for a good landing and retract this foot underneath. So let's watch. This leg is taking too long to bend. And we're focusing on this front foot swinging out in front. Let's set this front foot up to come straight down and this rear foot to come up underneath the hips. Okay, our last video here, let's take a look. And we see the rear leg coming off the ground really nicely, but we're seeing the front foot is really landing high in the toes out in front. That's going to cause some issues. Because what we're seeing now is this rear leg swinging forward some. We're coming off the ground a little late, good bend there, but we need to set this foot up. So this runner should watch that first video about how to come down underneath the body and let the whole foot hit the ground. The heel is not touching the ground here. And that's going to aggravate the plantar fascia, the soleus, and the Achilles. So we need to get that foot to come down flat underneath. To demonstrate that, I'll show this video here. So I'm coming down flat underneath. Next video, flat.